looks good. All right.
Warning. Incoming. Game over. Warning. Incoming. Game over.
Hello and welcome everyone to Game Over Ottawa. It's your January 21st edition. The Ottawa Senators went to the Madison Square Garden last night, most famous arena in the world, and they dropped an absolute stinker, folks. Not going to be one that we remember for years to come. Not going to be one of their more famous trips to MSG, but one we got to talk about nonetheless. My name is Nick Robinson. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm joined tonight by Adam from the Zubcast. Adam, not great to say the least.
No, great would not be in my top 100 words that I would use to describe that game. That was pretty brutal. Now, I know we're gonna dive into this a little bit more as we go, but the first thing that I would like to make incredibly clear is this people are kind of acting like the season's over right now online. Guys, they were just 5-0-1 in their last 6 games. This is just a loss on the record. It's a really bad loss, and nobody played particularly well, and that's a bit concerning. And there's other aspects of their game in general that are a bit concerning right now. But I mean, in terms of big picture, just right off the bat, everybody calm down. They are still totally fine. They're so in it, and if anything, they're favored to be in one of the 2 wildcard spots right now. So let's just take a breather on that. But yeah, this one was, I mean, any way you slice it, this was pretty ugly.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. No matter what, at the end of the night, they're still going to be over, I think, 70% on money puck to make the playoffs. Yeah. It's a bad loss, but, one you'd prefer. They were probably due for a bad one after a good run of games here. And, like you said, we can't do the whole the world is ending thing every time they lose hockey games. They're going to lose hockey games between now and game number 82. So they were probably due for a stinker, but it doesn't make it suck any less, I suppose. The Senators, I don't know if we've said the score, lost 5-0 tonight to the Rangers. Matt Rempe scored a goal, in case anybody didn't watch and really wants to know how bad it was. We're going to do a quick just breakdown of the game period by period. Before we do that, I just want to remind everybody to shift into hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. That's right, it's Hyperdrive Hockey, where we combine top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. Join Max Van Hoots, Daphne Malbeuf, and Kevin Laramé every Tuesday and Friday for your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. You can head to the website, thegameovernetwork.com, for more information on that as well. It's all linked down below. So, Adam, we're going to break down just the game a little bit. I want to apologize to anybody watching. First and foremost, my voice sounds a little bit off. I was indeed in the building on Saturday for the game against the Bruins. I don't think there was a single Go Sens Go chant I didn't get in on that entire game. And obviously, I think I lost a bit of control when Norris scored late in that one. So I'm still feeling the effects. But it looks like the Senators were still feeling the effects of a pretty emotional weekend altogether. First period was not, they just did not get off to a good start, similar to the way they did in New Jersey on Sunday. They got saved by a great challenge by Travis Green, who challenged a Sam Carrick goal for offside, won that, but the Senators sort of left Alexis Lafreniere open at the back post towards the end of the period and got scored on. That's really where things started to turn bad for the Ottawa Senators, because in the second period, again, they get scored on by Arthur Kaliev, a player that they had reportedly been very interested in. Arthur Kaliev would score a second time, but again, Travis Green would save them. Adam, safe to say this could have been a lot worse without the 2 great challenges from Coach Green.
Yeah, I mean, video coach Mike King is the only one that brought his A game tonight. Really, I mean, you can look at that and you can say like they lost 5-0. Really should have been a 7-0 game, which I don't really think changes very much. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. Like that first period did remind me of the New Jersey game a lot. Now the only difference is that they in the New Jersey game they decided to start playing after that and locked it down and got some unbelievable saves from Anton Forsberg. I mean, it's not this was not the goaltending's fault tonight. Like, let's make that perfectly clear. That one of those or that goal by Kaliev was not a good one. Odd Maryline and the one that counted. That's one you got to save. But I mean, other than that, like, what do you want him to do? Like the team just absolutely kind of let him out to dry on the Lafreniere goal. Forsberg came in and did not get much more help. But man, like, yeah, that one was really tough. It really seemed like they were not totally ready to play that game. And the Rangers, who have also been on a heater, by the way, really, like, I mean, that's their home crowd. Like, they're ready to go. That's a big game for them. Like, they are. It's no longer like Ottawa is chasing the Rangers. Like, the Rangers are chasing Ottawa now. Like, that's the team that you got to track down. And they really showed up and they were ready to go. And Ottawa was not ready to go. And that's a real shame. And that's, I think, why this game got so out of hand so quickly.
Yeah, you said it for sure. It's not a game that you can really blame on goaltending because the team just, in a lot of ways, was not as ready to go as the New York Rangers are. After that second disallowed goal that the Rangers scored, as you mentioned, Coach Green did make a goaltending change. He turned to Anton Forsberg, who didn't fare much better than Levi Merilainen, and I don't think that pull was to, just really to get Levy at as much as it was to just sort of wake the team up, because they just really hadn't offered anything at that point. And in this case, it did not work because it was a pretty lifeless second period again from the Senators. In the third period, that's when the game really, really got out of hand, as, like I said right off the top, Matt Rempe scores an end-to-end rush, give and go with Edstrom to make it 3-0. Things got a little feisty with Brady Tkachuk crashing the net, sort of incited a brawl with Igor Shesterkin, who took exception to some of his digging. Somehow, out of all that, the Senators were given an extra penalty. They were given another one on top of that. Rangers scored 2 goals on the 5-on-3, make it 5-0. I feel like I'm glancing over the game. Typically, I like to really break down each period on sort of the games I host, but I think this is one I'm fairly comfortable to skip over a lot of the fine details of, because there was not a lot in this from an Ottawa Senators perspective. Maybe despite the fact that they have played very, very well recently, some concern once again, Adam, that they just couldn't find a way to get any offense going. It's now 8 straight games for Brady Tkachuk without a point. Yeah,
it's strange. I mean, that's the longest drought in his career, at least since his rookie year. And it's just like it's not even like sometimes in the past when players on the Sens are slumping, it's like, this is like, I guess this is a strange comparison, but we saw with when Alex DeBrincat was on the team. It's like, at least he's getting his chances. Like, he's getting his chances. He's just not bearing it. They're not really getting chances. Like, Igor Shesterkin made one really good save in this game early on Brady Tkachuk, where he kind of flashed the glove. And besides that, I was never like very convinced that they were threatening to score. Like, they were never really close. And that's a big problem. Like, for so many years, really, like we've looked at the Senators and we've been like, okay, this team can score at will. Like, they've got so much offense, they just can't defend. And now their defensive zone looks unreal. Like, they look really, really good. Tonight does not count, but let's just call it in general. Like, they look really, really good. And I mean, I've seen this stat. Like, they've obviously 5-0-1 in their last 6 coming in, but they've now with this been shut out in 4 of their last 10 games, and that's pretty unacceptable. Like, something's got to give there. And the thing that concerns me even more about that is you can't really blame it on missing players right now. Like David Perron's out of the lineup. He's a good player. I don't think David Perron is coming in and like sparking the offense. Like, I don't think he's coming in with a bunch of goals. So people kind of been talking about this now. Like, does Steve Stais owe it to the team to go out and get like a scoring forward? And I think you have to really start considering that as like a serious possibility. Like they might need it. And it's a shame. The Sens' best forward tonight, in my opinion, was Matthew Highmore. And when that is the case, like no offense to Matthew Highmore, he's been great since he's come up, but that's not really okay. Like you need your big guys to step up. It's been a while, like you said, since Brady's been the guy for a game. Stützle looked like he was kind of fighting it a bit tonight. Batherson was pretty invisible, and obviously Norris was knocked out earlier in the game, so tough to ask anything from him. But yeah, the scoring is an issue right now, and I think you're getting to a point where you might need to seek some help in the form of a trade.
Well, that's a really good transition point to one of the topics I wanted to talk about with you tonight, which is sort of the layout of the forwards and what things are going to look like, because it looks like David Perron is going to return imminently, and what that might mean, especially with the fact that, like you said, they look like they need some additions. Before we do that, I just want to thank our second period sponsor. Looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada? If so, and if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, you can head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback on our shows, and special live shows where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve our viewer experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out on some of these things. If you really want to help us, make sure you click the like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your favorite social media of choice. That's patreon.com/thegameovernetwork for all the tantalizing goodies that I just outlined there. Okay, we want to talk a bit about the forwards, and looking at the lineup, like you said, they're besides David Perron, they're not really missing anybody right now.
Yeah.
Yet they've been shut out, 4 times in their last 10 games, like you said. I knew it was something like that. I didn't know what the actual number was until you just said it. It's a pretty damning stat at this point, right?
That's a tough number.
It's really tough. I think, you can, and I personally, I've been one that's cried out for years, pretty much since Guy Boucher left, that I just wanted a coach to come in so badly and fix the Senators' defense. And Travis Green and Steve Stamkos, to their credit, you could tell what they're doing defensively this year. You could tell last year when they made that change from DJ Smith to Jacques Martin in the interim. What we're seeing now is what they had envisioned. A really stalwart, shut-down defensive team, very responsible in their own end. You look at all the Senators' forwards, all their defensive metrics are up this year. Tkachuk, has not been a good defensive player pretty much his entire career. Is now, I think, sites like The Athletic place him sort of in that upper 80% of the league in terms of his defensive impact. Claude Giroux been one of the best defensive forwards in the league. Same with Tim Stützle. It's all great, but the offense has dried up this month, and while they haven't been punished so much because of it, tonight was a night where they just, to me, it even seemed like they were passing up shots in the slot. I don't know how many times in the last week that I have seen Tim Stützle walk into the slot with the puck and just pass it up, and I'm yelling at the TV, just shoot the puck. Shoot it, man. And we've seen it now affect the power play, because the power play is just on a complete nosedive. After being one of the better ones in the league, and it was very, very bad tonight, because there was a point there in the second period where the Senators were down 2-0. They got 2 straight power plays and didn't put up a shot on goal.
Yeah, I mean that was the game. That was brutal. And I think Locked On Sens tweeted this out. They've had 5 in their last 5 power plays. They've had 1 shot. Yeah, that's alarming. That is. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Very alarming. Yeah. And it's alarming, and that you just talk about in the game specifically, those 2 power plays. When you saw what they were generating on those 2 power plays, you're like, well, that's the game, really. How do you expect them to come back from this? They're down 2-0 at that point. They can't muster anything on these, and you expect these guys to score 2 or 3 goals in this game. That's insane. So the power play is a big problem right now. But I mean, in terms of what we're supposed to do with the forward lines, it's hard to suggest anything because usually there's like one guy, at least one guy's hot, and you just pair that guy with who's struggling. But literally no one is hot right now. Like my first, the first thought that came into my mind is, okay, like Shane Pinto played on the fourth line tonight. Do you elevate Shane Pinto? Well, Shane Pinto's had the worst offensive season of his career by far so far. And like I don't really think he's merited time in the top six, if anything. Now, there's a kind of an extraneous circumstance where you would think about doing that just to like literally just to switch things up. Maybe Gaudette moves back down again. Like he's been in the top six a lot. He's not scored many goals. He scored against Boston, which is great, but he's not been the person he was in October, November, like scoring at a ridiculous pace. Someone like I don't know what you're supposed to do to get Brady going. Like he's the engine. He's supposed to be the engine of the team. He's the guy who gets people going, and he has been like, besides like fighting Shesterkin when they're gonna lose already, like he's been invisible really. Like he's really not doing much at all. And the Stützle one is like crazy to me. Like he can single-handedly generate 2 to 3 excellent chances a game.
And he did tonight.
And he did tonight, even when they looked terrible. Like, and he didn't look like, I don't think he looked good tonight, but he was still able to do that, right? Like that's just kind of player he is. And oh my God, you're right. Like when he tried to do that pass to Gaudette for the tip in at the side of the net, I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like you're in the slot. You've done all of this work. Like you've circled the zone twice. Like you're going through 3 guys. You've given yourself like a perfect opportunity to shoot and like complete this excellent play. And you kind of just like shove it off like to Gaudette, who's kind of like, I mean, to be fair, should Gaudette score that? Probably. But I want my, $8 million a year franchise center to shoot the puck there, I think, a little bit. Like get out of your scoring slump. So in terms of what the line should look like I really don't know what you're supposed to try. I mean, first of all, let's hope Josh Norris is not injured.
Yeah,
because
it looks like it was precautionary, but
okay.
Like if he, I think they tweeted out the Sens communications that it was precautionary. So let's hope because if he misses any time, it's the last thing they need, right? With the
because he's been pretty good actually. Like he scored twice in Boston. Like if anything, he's been like the best offensive player in the top 6 the last little bit. So, but I honestly don't know. Like you just have to try something different now. Like get crazy, like get weird with it if you want. Like get crazy. Like just throw a bunch of dudes everywhere. Like Matt Highmore was your best forward tonight. Like, put him up on the third line. I don't know. Like give him a boost. Like do you bring someone? Do you call someone up from Belleville who can score? Like does Stephen Halliday get a call up? Because like like Zach Ostapchuk got his first NHL goal the other night, but he's not a scorer. He's not scoring. Nick Cousins is not scoring for you. Amadio's got like 2 goals this year. Like, do you just need to integrate from within more goals into your lineup? So I don't know. It's a bit alarming. They've been able to kind of mask it just because of how well they've been playing defensively, which to their credit is fantastic, and the goaltending's been great. But you got to score goals to win the game, and they're going to have to address this problem hopefully sooner than later before it becomes like the reason that you're slipping down the standings. And they're lucky because they've played so well that they've given themselves a very small cushion and a little bit of leeway to be like, okay, we can take that loss. Like they can take that loss tonight in all things considered. But now you have to kind of do something about it to maintain where you are and kind of keep the hierarchy. So I'm very interested to see what Travis Green and Steve Stamkos do in the next couple days.
Yeah, well, it's like we said, it's not the end of the world that they lost tonight. They're going to lose more games. It's it sucks because of the opponent and just sort of the parameters in terms of the standings and things like that. But it's more so just the manner, and again that they just couldn't find any offense. You made a good point just about maybe they look to just move some guys up and down, get weird with it, because I mean. I don't know. It's funny. I don't know where we'd be if Adam Gaudette didn't chime in with 15 goals this year, which feels crazy to say, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Nick Cousins on the third line, he's been fine in that spot, but I don't. That's a little high in the batting order than you probably envisioned with Nick Cousins at the beginning of the season. Perhaps you move Greg off that line and put Amadio back there, and you reform that trio with Pinto that was really good before Amadio got hurt in Vancouver, and then maybe give Greg like a look with some of the more offensive guys. I don't know, but something's got to change there, because since they reformed that Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson line. Yeah, all 3 have dried up, really. Yep. Norris been okay, but Batherson's got 1 in 17 now, which is, that to me is even more concerning than Tkachuk or Stützle. 1 in 17 from Batherson. That's a brutal. Long stretch of games now, and you certainly need to get him going again, because I mean, there's really not much else to say on the top guys, at least, other than they gotta get going here. And mind you, this is a bit of an extreme stretch, because even like for all of them to be slumping at the same time really is
crazy.
Is a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think David Perron coming back maybe on Thursday will help. Just to get another body in there. And then, you can move guys further down. Like, Ostapchuk's been fine. I was glad to see him get his first goal. But to me, probably at this point, Highmore looks like he's beaten him out in terms of a job, right? For when they got to move a forward out. Because Highmore's been really, really good. And I did like what you pointed out. I think Highmore was probably one of their better forwards tonight, if not their best. So we'll see what that means. But would you look to move like outside the organization? Like I've in some of my past streams said more so than adding a goalie before, Marilainen, when that was like a suggestion before Marilainen sort of took the reins, and then, adding a defenseman before Matt and Paolo really has stepped in and established himself. I was advocating for a forward trade. Are you sort of in that same camp?
Yeah, now I am. I don't think I was. If you asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I would have said no. But now, I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Like, that is by far and away their biggest concern is to score goals. And I just don't know what that's going to take. I mean, you look at draft capital, and trading let's remember here, trading a first is incredibly dangerous for the Senators right now because they don't have one in the next 2 years, in one of the next 2 years at least. So that's something I probably wouldn't be okay with. I wouldn't part with anything for first. And if it was, that's a huge trade that we're talking about now all of a sudden. And I don't think they need a huge trade. You kind of look around the league, like some people have talked about Taylor Hall. I don't think that's really going to solve a lot of problems. Like, when's the last time Taylor Hall scored 20 goals in a season? Like, he's kind of not really been that great. I don't know. I wouldn't be huge on him. If he's cheap, maybe, like, why not? But I don't know, man. Like, Staios might have to get kind of creative here, because I don't think they're going after like a Miller or a Pettersson. Like, that's a bit extreme, and I don't think I want to be tied up with those contracts either, to be completely honest. Like, especially with how much the Sens are paying some of their forwards. But in the short term, they're not going to make a trade before Boston. I'd be shocked. Right. So in the short term, you talk about that Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson line has sucked, and so what worked a little bit last year was Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux, and I would definitely try that again as a line. Like, what do you have to lose at this point? Really, it's worked for you before. Norris and Batherson, maybe you play Pinto there. Maybe you play Greg with them, like, kind of see where that goes. And then, like, your bottom six, like, Perron and Amadio kind of played together before he got injured, and they seem to have some decent chemistry, at least, like, in terms of moving the puck through the neutral zone and being a good defensive checking line, which is fine. Like, that's great. But I would seriously consider, like, giving Stephen Halliday a look here in terms of, like, what's a really quick, easy, cheap option that we can use to, like, inject some goals into our lineup. Like, I know that's a bit extreme. Like, Stephen Halliday's not like this A-tier prospect, but he is someone whose upside is his offense, and that's exactly what you need right now. Like, why wouldn't you just for the heck of it, just, like, send him up there for a game, play him in the middle six, maybe give him power play 2, like, see what happens. Like, maybe that's all they need, like, just some kind of wild card. But in terms of a trade, like, I'm not familiar with the market right now besides, like, Taylor Hall and Pettersson and Miller, and I don't think either of those three guys would be the answer. So we'll see. Like they say, like, people like to use the term hockey trade. Like, Staios might need to make a hockey trade here to try to bring someone in. Yeah,
well, I brought it up while you were talking, just like the TSN trade bait board. There's not too many names here that I can see the Senators going after. In terms of some of the forwards, like, obviously Pettersson and Miller are the top two, and the Senators aren't gonna do that.
No.
Brock Nelson, probably not a guy that they're gonna, like, pay a lot in terms of draft capital for. He'll probably fetch a decent amount.
Yeah, he'd be expensive.
Right. Scott Lawton, apparently the Flyers are asking for a first-round pick. Like, the Senators aren't going to do that. Trent Frederick, I can't see Boston trading with Ottawa right now. Taylor Hall, like you sort of said, I think I'm in agreement, just not a good fit, I don't think. And he makes $6 million. I think people have overlooked that. Right?
Yeah, it's insane.
Brandon Tanev, I could see it. Like, maybe.
but these guys aren't bringing tons of goals. Like Trent Frederick is
Yeah.
not solving your scoring problems. Like he's a good addition to the bottom six, but you're right. Like there's not a lot out there right now. That's why I'll keep harping on like you might need to solve this from within because you don't go out and force something that's stupid. Like if there's a good trade to be made, do it. But it clearly seems like GMs are not shopping around a lot of high scoring talent right now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Well, one thing to keep in mind, the Senators do have 3 third-round picks next year.
Yeah.
So that is, I could definitely see them trying to move one or a couple of those just to see if they can do something to get themselves some short-term help. Because, it's like you said, Steve Stais maybe owes it to the Senators a little bit at this point because they've done so well to get themselves back in the race here, to keep competitive, to keep in this thing. In the grand scheme of things. And I wanted to touch on that a bit too. Like, so the Montreal Canadiens won again tonight. Their miraculous run here continues. 3 goals on, like just over 20 shots again after getting heavily outplayed by the Lightning tonight. They find a way to win. The Flyers beat the Red Wings in overtime, so not great result
worst
there.
Case.
Yeah, worst case with them getting more points. How are you concerned at all, or are you fine? Like you sort of said off the top, and you're happy to just wash this off and hope they come back better against Boston.
They're in the race, man. Like they're in the race. The teams around you are going to win. Probably more often than not, actually. Like that's kind of usually how this goes. I know Sens fans kind of forget what this is like, but when you're in a race like this, usually all the teams are kind of playing well because everyone knows they have a chance to make the playoffs. But I mean, the good part about that Habs game is they beat Tampa in reg, which is good because Tampa is a team that is directly ahead of the Senators and they can try to catch them. So technically they lost no ground tonight on Tampa. That's a positive. They, with their recent excellent play, that win from Montreal, I think they're still 1 point back, I want to say.
So Montreal and Ottawa are now tied. They have the exact same
tied.
record, and they are wild card 1 and 2 as we speak.
Fair enough. Yeah. So it's not like, they're not getting past. And I guess the Rangers win. The Flyers are pretty deep down there now. Like, I'm not super worried about the Flyers. Like, there's a couple of teams you could try to start writing off. Like there was a time a couple weeks ago when literally every single Eastern Conference team was in the playoff race. Buffalo's not making it.
No, they've removed themselves again, I think.
Yeah. I'm not worried about, like, Buffalo, the Islanders, and Pittsburgh, I think are pretty close to done. Flyers don't scare me a lot. And I think the Red Wings are quite fraudulent. I think they got a really big new coach bump, which good for them. And now they've kind of been, like, teetering ever since that happened.
It looks like it's cooled off.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them. The teams that I'm worried about are the Rangers, the Habs, which is insane, and Columbus, man. Like, who would have thought? That is crazy. Columbus, like, good. I mean, good for them. It's a great story. Like, if there's any team that I'd be okay with beating the Sens for a wild card, it'd be Columbus. But and obviously Boston and Tampa as well. But like the Sens are like part of the group that has separated from the bottom feeders. It seems like, which is good. And they're kind of at the top of that group because obviously, like you said, they're still in the wild card. I mean, it's one game, it's one night, and it's one series of games. There's going to be tons left. We're not in like dire straits mode with the final 10 games of the year. Like, there's going to be a lot of chances to pick up points. And no, I'm not. So I'm not worried. Like the Sens have not played consistently bad enough for me to be worried. Like they've had so many more good games than bad games, and if they can just get back to that and score a couple goals. And I mean, just to get back on that quickly, like I do think they're getting a bit unlucky too. Like in this game, they just played poorly, but there have been other games where like Markstrom was making great saves, and the game before Boston, I know they had a bit of a tough go, but the goals I think the goals will come. But like I said, they might need to kind of, switch something up and bring from within. But no, I'm not at the point where I'm worried about the Sens in the race yet.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in agreement on that. I think maybe the Rangers at this point, and we see it tonight, probably make me the most nervous just because we know that, they're still a President's Trophy winning team, right? Yeah. Deep down there somewhere, they gotta be. I gotta believe that doesn't just disappear, no matter how bad they've been this year.
Had a tough stretch.
Yeah,
and we see it earlier in the year.
Yeah, we see it tonight because even they didn't make it very hard for him, but they still get Igor Shesterkin back there who can shut the door at any time. But I think the one thing too with the Sens, and people are there's obviously going to be the doomsayers, like I'm sure on with regards to this team and the manner in which they lost tonight. But I think the one thing we got to realize too is while they've just played that recent 9-game road trip, and we're a little bit removed from that now. Right after that, we've been playing in this stretch here. We've been watching them in this stretch where they're playing 10 games in 16 nights, and that ends crazy. As of Sunday. Like, yeah. I don't know who in the NHL schedules office really has it out for the Senators, but it certainly seems like their schedule is a lot more difficult than everybody around them. Like Montreal, for instance, I was looking at it. Montreal still hasn't done their California trip. They still haven't done their Western Canada trip. And Ottawa did those in like pretty close proximity to one another. And that was in addition to or at least the Western Canada one was a part of like a 9-game trip. And then they've got this stretch that I just mentioned. It just, as long as by the end of Sunday when they play Utah, crazy that there's 3 more games between now and Sunday. As long as Ottawa is still like tied for a wild card spot, I think I feel pretty good about things, right?
Yeah, I mean, the scheduling is funny. I mean, I guess the whole league got very thrown off because of the 4 nations. Like, there's a literal, like, just 2.5-week block of no games in February. So I think, like you said, obviously, like, maybe teams like Montreal have it a little bit easier, but every team's kind of getting screwed by this. And I don't I just don't like using the schedule as an excuse. Like, the 9-game road trip was crazy. Like, there's not another team that's hosting the World Juniors this year. So they've kind of got that on them. But if you look at April, the Sens play all home games in April.
Yeah, 8 of their last 9.
Yeah, like that's going to be it. That's what I've kind of been saying for a while is like all you have to do is stay in it until April. And then in April, you can bank so many points on those home games. And there's huge games. They play Columbus back-to-back in April. They play the Habs in April. They play some really beatable teams. Like they have like Chicago and Philly in April. Like that's going to be a huge month. Like just keep staying afloat. And honestly, like you said, like Sunday's gone. Then the hardest part of their schedule is like done. Like the month-long hardest part of their schedule is done. But yeah, like I said, like I don't like to use it as an excuse because every team is dealing with kind of a cramped schedule in one way or another, either right now or in the second half of the season. It always kind of solves itself out. So they'll be fine. Like just keep sticking it out, get to April, and then bank all your points at home.
Yeah, for sure. We're coming up to a close here. We're coming up on the end. We're going to read a couple of the comments that we got here. But first, I just want to let you viewers know that if you're enjoying the show, you probably want more of this, I'm guessing. Make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you check the notification bell so you're alerted when we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review. That would be much appreciated. And if you really like us, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite social media platforms. You can find us on the Game Over Network, on Blue Sky, at thegameovernetwork.com, on TikTok and Twitter at the Game Over Network, Game Over NHL, also on Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, Game Over Network. You'll find us on there. You can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com where you can sign up for our upcoming newsletter. So that's exciting. Make sure to stay tuned for that. As we transition into our sort of last brief segment here, it doesn't look like everybody's too engaged tonight. David W. With a lot of thoughts on the game tonight in the chat. We appreciate it, David. Enjoyed the stream, but watching another one and look forward to watching the next Sens game if I can. Yeah, make sure you watch it on Thursday. We're going to be live on Game Over after that game as well. David pointed out there are a lot of fights. I'm sure many Sens fans are thinking, mercifully, this painful disaster of a game is done. Yeah, that's I think where everybody's thought process was at. I don't know. Did you have a problem with the Sens getting into another scrap sort of in what was a lost game?
Yeah, I mean, I just found myself being like, oh, like so typical. Like Brady, of course, fighting when the game's over again. Like I'm a little bit like that's kind of a little bit stupid. But I also think like it's so whatever. Like I just don't really care. Like it's the game's locked. They've been playing really well. There's no reason for me to get super mad. What I was a little bit disappointed about is that Anton Forsberg didn't come down the ice when Shesterkin is like swinging at the captain after like kind of diving and like holding his knee in the crease, and then he just springs back up and like jumps Brady. So I was like, I kind of wanted to see, like, I don't think Forsey's that kind of guy, like just kind of going by his demeanor. Like, I don't think he's a fighter, but there was a little bit of a part of me that was like, oh man, like get down there, like go like go help your captain out with the other goalie. But yeah, I didn't mind it. Like they're pissed off. They've played really well. They have the right to be pissed off. I don't think the players enjoyed that game as much as the fans did. So it is what it is. Like honestly now, like it's just like get all the anger out and like go play a great game on Thursday. Like go into Boston and like destroy that team. Like that is all that they should be thinking about right now. So the fights are whatever, if that helps you get there.
Yeah, even better if they can really dial it up Thursday and then do so again on Saturday, because I'll be in the building against Toronto,
Toronto.
with
Yeah, good
8
luck.
friends from my hometown of Toronto.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
it's gonna be
That's
rough.
brutal. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have much of a problem with the fighting either. And to be honest, the last 2 times they've really done it. The national referendum that we had pretty much after the game against Vancouver, where Kachuk got tossed, and then the game against Buffalo, where Kachuk got tossed again right at the end for fighting. The Senators went on big win streaks after both those, so
True.
maybe hopefully
Yep.
more of the same. Just as we wrap up here, I just want to remind you all to check out the Game Over merchandise, because what better way to support something you love than by repping it on yourself. Game Over's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique lines. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, you want to make a statement with our established design, or you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you just need another coffee and a toque to get you through the winter, we've got you covered there. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code or the link in bio and take a look through our apparel store and help us rebuild local sport media in Canada while repping your community. Adam, I want to thank you for coming on here and talking after this blowout. Would have been pretty understandable if you dipped out on us just based on how the game went. But why don't you tell us where the people and the viewers can find you?
Oh, of course. It's always a pleasure, even when they lose, just to talk about the Sens. I'll never turn that down. You can find me, my personal Twitter and Blue Sky are the same. It's Adam Copland. The Zubcast is, we release episodes when we can. We're clicking at about 1 a month right now, but you can find us over Blue Sky and Twitter at Zubcast. And yeah, that's honestly it for me. Thanks for having me on, Nick. I know that was a really tough game, but I mean, it's always fun to come on and hang out, and pleasure as always.
Yeah, maybe next time you and I can run it back after a win. Let's hope for that.
Yeah,
Senators return Thursday against the Boston Bruins. Game Over has got you covered there. Make sure to check it out after that game. Should be live just around 10 o'clock on that one. Adam, thanks for joining. I've been Nick Robinson. Game Over Ottawa. Senators lose 5-0 to New York Rangers. Bury it, forget about it, burn the tapes. We'll see you guys Thursday. All right, the Zoom's about to cut out, but we're good.